We've had the Hampton 8 tent for about a year now, so I thought I'd follow up after my initial review to tell you how it's been going and show you the setup. We're here in Somerset at Pertruth Paddocks, just outside of the village of Cheddar. Wonderful campsite and one I'd recommend. The weather is gorgeous, but as you can see by the tents, it is a pretty windy day and it has been a particularly windy night. So here's my thoughts and setup of the Hampton 8 DLX after 1 year with it. This is the first camp of the year for us. It's a glorious bank holiday weekend, and our family of 6 are making the most of it in our Hampton 8 tent. The main reason we wanted this tent was because of this porch on the front. It makes a great area for halfway between in and out of the tent. It comes in extremely useful for storing things like shoes, our pushchair, and also an area for cooking. The porch ground sheet comes with the tent and goes in with a few clips and a couple of pegs. Now this weekend we are camping with family who have a gazebo, so we didn't actually have our full cooking setup in here. I've put this unit in here just so you can get an idea of size and how you could have it set up. But we would usually have this unit here, and then another unit that we would put our cookers on the opposite side. And it still leaves plenty of space for shoes and other bits and bobs that you might want to put in this porch. And the great thing about this porch is that you can zip it up and enclose it off. So you can still use this space for storage and cooking even when the weather is bad. Talking of bad weather, you can see how much the wind is blowing today. It was especially bad in the night last night, to the point where it actually kept us up a bit, it was that noisy. But what it did do was show us how actually strong this Hampton 8 tent is. You might have noticed the guidelines are a little slack, and I think that's from the battering that we got overnight with the wind. Tents like this are designed to move a little bit with the wind to dissipate some of that force, and I'd feel confident in this in winds up to 20 or 30 miles an hour at least. You can see the living space is quite spacious. It's not an area we've actually been using this weekend because the weather's been so good and you can see all our seats are outside. But it has been great to have this. We did have a week away last summer where the weather wasn't particularly great all week, and it was really nice to have this space to come into to use. We're a family of 6, and this being an 8-man tent, we don't actually need this extra pod here, which is optional. But we like to have it up because we're able to store all our clothes in here. As you can see, we've got the suitcases on the floor. And it also means we can have a space for our emergency toilet, which is only to be used at night when we don't want to wander across the field. We then have the 2 main bedrooms at the back of the tent, and these are the ones we actually use to sleep in for all 6 of us. In the larger of the 2 bedrooms, we have 4 of us sleeping, 2 adults and our 2 youngest children. And then in the smaller of the 2 back bedrooms, we have our 2 older children. One thing we really like about this bedroom pod is the storage pods on the front, which are really good for keeping the tent tidy. And then the fact that they are Nightfall. It doesn't keep the light out entirely, but it makes a massive difference. In here we have 2 Decathlon airbeds. They're small double airbeds. We had to order them special from our particular Decathlon, but they fit perfectly. They're called Air Comfort airbeds from Decathlon. And you want to make sure you get the ones that are 120 centimeters wide because they fit these pods perfectly. I'd also recommend them in terms of comfort. They're much better than the £10 airbeds we had previously to these. We cover them in a standard double fitted sheet which fits over nicely. And the sleeping bags we use are Hi-Gear Composure ones. I use a single, and my wife and 1 child sleep in a double, and then our other child sleeps in a pod sleeping bag. Here in the smaller of the 2 back bedrooms, my 2 older children sleep. Again, we use this Air Comfort mattress, 120 centimeters, which fits perfectly in this pod. And they use the Hi-Gear Divine sleeping bags, which are also very comfortable. Could recommend these. And again, as you can see, having these 3 120 centimeter airbeds in these back pods means that they fit together perfectly, and there's actually no space where you could sort of slip down in between the airbeds in the night. One of the questions I've been asked since I put up my initial review of this tent: can you open up the big back bedroom to one big room? Yes, indeed you can. You can unzip it there and you can toggle it over to the back of the tent. But unfortunately you do have this lip that the zip goes on, so you couldn't put an airbed over that. So you could have the room open, but you couldn't use it as one big bedroom if you want the airbed to go over the centre there. Going back into the bigger bedroom pod, you can see the yellow toggles at the back there that you would use to tidy away this divider should you want to unzip it. However, this is something that we don't honestly do, to be honest. We sometimes unzip it in the morning so the kids can roll around, but we generally don't have it open. I've taken some more footage of this divider once the airbeds are out. just so you can get an idea of how big that lip is and why you couldn't really put an airbed over the middle. I can also show you what we use under the airbeds now we've taken them out. In the main bedroom pod we use a Eurohike medium tent carpet, and then in the smaller of the 2 bedroom pods at the back we just use a picnic blanket that we found on Amazon to go underneath, and these just give a bit of extra insulation between the airbed and the ground. If you do use the extra pod, the carpet does go under this for a bit of extra insulation. Weather-wise, as I've said, we've been out in windy conditions a couple of times and the tent has held up really well. In terms of water resistance, we had a week away last year where it didn't rain heavily, but it rained consistently for a couple of days and it was very misty, and that didn't cause any problems at all. We found that putting up the tent is actually pretty easy. Compared to our last tent, there's an OB8, it's definitely easier to put up, especially having the porch built in and not having to put a separate one on. I will get around to doing a pitching video of this at some point to show you how it goes up. We got the matching footprint to the tent when we bought it in a deal, and we found that to be useful, but definitely not an essential item like I would say the matching carpet is. The bag that comes with the tent is great, we've never had any problem getting the tent back in it. It's actually that big we're able to get in the footprint as well. Once everything's in the bag there are straps to tighten it down to squeeze all the air out. And I think that's about it for my thoughts and our 1-year review of the Hampton 8. If you do have any questions, please ask in the comments. If you found this video useful and enjoyed it, please do drop it a like, and a subscription to the channel would be fantastic. Thank you very much for watching, and enjoy your camping however you do it.